let's go back a little bit, slow down here. I'm very interested about this technical high school because that's something that is not common in the United States, for example. Um, where do these come from, and how do they compare to the non-technical high schools? Help me understand a little bit about this technical high school.
Well, the technical high schools, they started in the 70s, I would say, because this is another whole different story, but we had a military government. So during the 70s, the military government, I think uh, they had a policy that they would have to have more technicians available in the market. So a lot of federal institutions start to have technical high schools, and then some private schools went on the same lines. So I went to a private school. I went to a private technical high school. I had a scholarship at that time. I took an exam, but I had a scholarship. But anyway, it was a private school. But most of the technical high schools were actually federal government schools. And I believe the reasoning on that is that because there was a protection in our market, we had to manufacture a lot of industrial goods, and all the industry in Brazil had to be developed from all the grounds. So they had to invest in these technicians. So it was not a priority from the military government that time to have engineers. It was more a priority to have technicians. This has also a political thing because the engineer has a university degree, so it thinks like a university student, and a technician is actually prepared to work in whatever the industry needs. So that was kind of the spirit of those high schools. We had a very good preparation. We are really prepared to work in the industry, but as you know, as a technician, not as an engineer, so there is a different background when you compare one of the other.
And
You also asked me, I'm sorry, but you also asked me about the regular high schools. We also had, of course, regular high schools. Usually, in Brazil, that time, it's still a little bit true today. At that time, most of good students who came from wealthy families, they went to private high schools because the private high schools are better in order to be prepared for the public university. So it's a little bit of an unfair situation, but the kids go to a private high school and then later they do not pay a university. Okay, it's very different from here, from the United States.
tell me a little bit about the curriculum in this technical high school, and also the kind of stories that you hear in this high school about becoming a technician, because it seems from what you just said that that was the main emphasis or the main purpose of these high schools, was to create technicians for Brazil's industry. So was there any motivation there from teachers about engineering as a profession, or was the message that you got from the technical high school was you're here because you'll be a technician and nothing else?
It was more like that. You're here to be a technician, nothing else. Because, see, I know that we'll be discussing this later, but in Brazil, the engineering profession is regulated by a state agency, and that state agency gives you a license to be an engineer. So that time, the federal government mandated that state agents issue a license for technicians. So the idea is that a technician would be quote unquote the same thing as an engineer because he had the same license, could even build houses, could even build things that engineers could build. So there was a lot of competition from the good technicians with the engineers. So The technical high schools, they are made actually to drive you into the profession as a technician. So the teachers that I had, they were very good teachers. Sometimes they were engineers that are teaching, but they are not particularly concerned to drive you to an engineering profession. And that time, in 1977, 78, 79, and 80, we were still in the military government, so we actually did not discuss a lot of how to say your social impact or what is your position in the society. No, you are educated to do a job, and your job is to be a technician. That was so. What brought me into engineering profession was not actually my high school preparation.
So what wasn't that?
Why did I go for engineering?
Yeah, if it wasn't your high school preparation, what took you into engineering?
Well, in my life, I always thought I was giving one step a little further than what I was capable to do, and that time going for a college was really a big step, because I came from a very simple family, and in my family my father had a college degree, he was a lawyer, but overall in my family very few people had college degrees. And my uncle had, but very few people in my family had college degrees. So that time going for a college was like a challenge for me. Passing the exam for the college, for the public university, was a challenge for me. So I felt like I was going to be challenged if I tried to be something above what I was supposed to do with my technician degree. So that's what drove me into the college studies.
So let's go back now to the preparing for this exam. Why does it take 1 year to prepare?
Because you have to know everything. You have to know Portuguese language, you have to know English, you have to know Brazilian geography, international geography, Brazilian history, international history. You have to know physics, the whole thing of physics, the whole chemistry, biology. What else goes into that? Yeah, and you have to know a little bit of the current events, because we have some questions on the current events, but mostly are really hardcore high school subjects. So, and you never know what's gonna come into the exam. It's that time now maybe changed, but that time we had two stages. You have first stage where is a qualification. You have that time we used to have 100 questions, and then a percentage of these students were selected for the second phase. The second phase we had 4 days. Each day we had 2 exams. For example, Portuguese and math, physics and history. So every day we had 2 exams. They were written exams, and then at the end they selected, for example, for the engineering school, that time they selected 600 students. So 600 students out of, let's say, 50,000 students who first started. So it was really hard at the time. It's still hard.
Mm-hmm. And do you get a score and then you get ranking, or there's no ranking? How does the matching of the students who pass the exam and the universities that they go to, how does that take place?
I know this exam, it's not a national exam. It's an exam that you take per university. So in my case, I took an exam for the University of São Paulo.
Okay.
If you want to go for University of Rio de Janeiro, it's another exam. It is not a national exam. Today there are some studies from the Brazilian government to have a national exam. Actually, there is a national exam in Brazil. So in the selection today, it's 4 years that I'm not I'm not living there. So maybe a few things changed. But when I left Brazil in 2000, they are trying to have a national exam, and then the score of that national exam could be used by the school in addition to another exam by the school. So that time I did not have this national ranking as you are saying. But today we have this national ranking.